and bumping my tape. Don't go against me. They're asking my help. Go get out your feelings and get it yourself. Might got the same shoes, but you ain't gonna step. That shit that you just put out, you could have kept. Yup. She got a nigga, he got a shirt. Why? You can't compete when you can't compare. She ate the dick to my underwear. Got up and got himself out of there. I see they put me on memes and things. Don't speak on my life without knowing the real. Figures a year what it cost me to live. Don't hold it, just say what you feel. But watch your mouth. To a place that she didn't know exists. Mediterranean water my wrist. 6-figure check. Now I'm lit. Whoever I'm with. Got everybody hit. Yeah. I don't like nobody. We can get gangster. We can keep it cordial. How you want to go about it? I don't backtrack. Man, fuck that. I don't miss nobody. Left it on scene. I ain't right back. I don't. Good morning. I got time today. Fuck it, we crossing the line today. The hate be so real, the love be fake. They bumping their guns and bumping my tape. All right, enough of that. Mediterranean water my wrist. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Man, it's a lot of shit shaking out here, man. What can I say? What can I say? What can I say? Well, okay, so this morning, I do want to mention that, we are crossing the line today. Good morning, ladies. So, a lot of things happening kind of separate and peripherally to Summer's situation. I did actually get a text just before I came on from Don, and we were talking about how big a piece of shit Doug is. So it was, it was an affirming confirmation this morning that Doug's still a piece of shit. Now, to give a little clarity into my situation, people say, "Oh, Benny, you tell women, fuck you, bitch." Listen, when they come over here and they say something stupid in that chat, yeah, the first round out of my cartridge is "fuck you, bitch." I'm sorry. You can't compete when you can't compare. Yeah, I mean, it would just, you know what I mean? Like, the whole defining moment in all of that was that "look what you made me do" shit. That "look what you made me do" shit is just, it's the kind of dialogue that you see from experts of domestic violence. Good morning, AF. Good morning, beautiful. So when you try to bring into the pale, right? When you try to bring into the comparison facts that we know in this case, what happens is you take it ahead with the things that people say. You bring it ahead. What's up? Oh, yeah. You bring it ahead with what we think is reliable new information. But then what actually happens is we talk ourselves, and when I say we, you guys know that I mean we is all of us. We talk ourselves right back out of what we think was good forward talk, good free thinking. And then we just pull it on back with we take 6 steps forward and we take 8 steps back in this community. And so we're always behind the actual, the reality of this situation. I want to show you just a little bit of the insanity that comes from people who enable and who are involved in a sort of codependent situation. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to see a situation that seems like it's on a supportive construct. And that's not what this actually is. This is a codependent party. This is an enabling party. And it took all these things. Now, the one thing that I do want to point out is the fact that Joshy the Blob, he paid rent over on Ziggy's last night. I also saw a bunch of the things he was chatting in the chat, and I'm like, oh my God, if Doug saw these, Doug would be done. I don't know why Josh just isn't done, but I think he's clearly has it. Like, Josh was one of those guys on the phone with his first girlfriend, like, no, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. Well, I'm just going to stay here all night listening to you breathe while you sleep, looking ass. Like some real goofy shit. Like, when a man steps out of bounds against the things that you stand for as a red-blooded American, you've compromised yourself. You've compromised yourself when you leave yourself in the situation where you're waiting for Doug to quit you and you don't have the balls to quit Doug. Nothing's forever. Like, there is no diamond is forever when it comes to Doug. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, he's going to go where it's the smoothest for him, right? Josh is like a teenager in that respect. Josh is going to go where there's the least amount of pressure, the least amount of rules. Not that Doug has any rules that you need to necessarily abide by specifically in particular to anything else, just the code of being a man, right? So, and Doug, it's never what you say, it's how you say it. See, I could say, Ziggy, you loser, you fucking bitch. And that sounds different than when Doug says, Ziggy, you loser, you fucking loser, bitch. It sounds way different. It's the same words, but it's the enunciation, right? It's the emphasis on the correct syllable. Okay, Doug? It's the way you emphasize. It's the key in which you sing. It's the key in which you sing. Moving on. So what we're going to take a look at this morning is a semi-moderately to mild to moderate look into this community that has been enabling Jodisues. Josh, if you want to come over, like, you're more than welcome to come over here and blob on my channel and not say shit too. Like, you'd be a perfect stand-in. Kind of like a dog, rather, you know, like, just sit there and always be happy when you see me, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to take a look at the enabling behavior of this community as it relates to Jodisues and her bullshit. You know what, Sheila? I had just seen his face once or twice. Honestly, never watched more than Aussie Insider's breakdown of Josh. I've never watched one of his videos. I've never heard his voice in real life until the thing with Doug. And then I actually saw that he had, like, in one portion of it, he looked like Christy Brinkley. And then in another portion of it, he looked like David Brenner. So I just really, I don't know what the fuck I was even looking at. Like, it was a fucking prison fashion show. Oh, Jesus. I know his words that Benny played yesterday triggered PTSD. I'm so sorry for that, dazed and confused. See, and that's the thing. That's where me as a man, I'm trying to become more sensitive to the dynamics of talking about things here. See, as a man, I'm still not qualified completely to handle some of these situations here, because I think I'm handling them straightforward. But really what's going on is there's these peripheral auxiliary subsets of emotions that I'm not aware of until someone points them out to me. I don't specifically rush forward. Like, I see these boundaries, I see these things, but I'm going to disregard them. That's not what that is. Thank you, Dazed. Yeah, just don't give him the views. Josh is on his way to looking like the guy from the cartoon family. I agree. I do agree. It's not so much about who you're sitting next to while it's still copacetic. It's about who you're sitting next to when it goes sour, right? Who are? You fat shame, insult women constantly. So how is what you do any better than Doug? Well, Casey, ask the people. I don't know. Like, you ask them. You want me to answer something for somebody else, and I can't do that. I fat shame men. I guess that's still shaming. You're right. I fat shame the men here. I shame the men here. So I guess I'm still a shamer, right? I can't explain it, but Josh really gets on my nerves. It's just that passive aggressiveness that makes it really hard to, identify. You should rise above that. You know what, Casey? Now that you've pointed it out, I certainly will make. I only fat shame in defense. It rap, and that's it. Not that that makes it correct or any more wrong or less right. I shame the shameful. Thank you, Kiska. I shame the miserable and the shameful. That's what we do. I did, however, talk about Ziggy's pumpkin head. I listened to her a little bit last night, and I felt like she thought it was in good fun. I listened to her. She laughed about it. She was like, ha. And you know what? She said that Benny is very witty. He's very clever. He's very intelligent. What she said about, I have chin shamed. I've chin shamed. I chin shamed a woman. I did. I body shamed Molly Golightly. I know that it was wrong. And I probably will do it again. Just so you know. Just so you can put out clip channels. You could clip this and put it out. Yeah, even Ziggy didn't deserve what Druggy Fresh said. That's right. So we will always chin shame around here. That is right, Rap. We will always chin shame. There is no doubt about it. Your boy Roy, you're right. Men are. I am sensitive, but not sensitive to all the verbiage that it takes to not upset someone when you're talking about these things. When you're talking about these things organically, right? Yes, Sheila, I think we all chin shamed her. We sure did. Doug is abusive. I don't deny that, but your message loses its power when you stoop to personal insults. You know what, Casey? I really appreciate. What about Propecia? Yes, I shamed Bullhorn Betty's thinning hair. I did. It's tactful, right? There's couth in that. I'm not explaining. I'm not justifying it. I'm just explaining it. So she is a chinchilla. That's right. Love face. Why would you do that? Come over here with that stupid shit. Who wants to look at porn while we're talking about true crime? Chinchirly, Mark. I'm serious. I just fucking blocked you. How are you back in here again? Fucking idiot. All right. So we're going to move ahead here. We are going to look. Yeah, you're right, Felicity. I get it. I'm not here trying to justify it. I'm not trying to normalize it. I'm coming in here to be very honest and say that I have too also been, played a part of that. And it's very difficult, AF, to, as a male creator, right? So it's okay for all these women to say all these dirty things about me, but as soon as I say, your chin looks funny, I'm in the wrong. We completely forget about everything anyone else did, but we only focus on the chin shaming or the plastic surgery shaming or whatever, right? So am I here to promise you that I won't shame some other idiot? No, not here to promise you that. That's right, Mark. It's controlled by keywords. And those key words are the things that draw our attention in, and you don't focus on anything else. Yes, Luna Umbra. Some individuals you make an exception for. MGL is one. She shames everyone, especially victims. That's it. Ziggy had that coming. She's the worst. She called me a liar, said she never had on a sex offender. Then when I said invite paranormal crickets, she said nothing, ran out of chat. Yeah, she did have that sex offender on there. And the sex offender, he's so manipulative. He came over under one of my posts that I shared his booking information and was just like, Benny, I'm so sorry for your loss, brother. Let's talk. And I didn't even answer him. I'm like, bro, even when my sister commits suicide, I still won't talk and receive a well wish from a baby raper. I'm not interested in that, my friend. You can keep that shit. All right, moving forward. AF, I really hope that I haven't offended you in a way that's unrepairable, because I certainly am not here to roast on somebody and then have this life-altering effect on them. In fact, the people that I do say these things to, I believe that they're already in a way that, what I say isn't probably necessarily affecting them. When they come with the ugly, you hit them with ugly, and it probably just doesn't. Thank you, Mystic Firefly. It is what it is. So everyone in his chat has directly or indirectly dealt with a pedophile. That's right. Thank you, Sheila. I would never hurt an innocent person, though. Marge says, some people need to be shamed, but when it comes to MGL and her minions, you can't shame the shameless. That's right. That guy is really sick. He sits around laughing about what he did to Candace. Yeah. Thank you, Lully. Thank you, AF. I'm working on it, right? I'm always working every day to be better. Right? That's the difference between a lot of channels and this channel, right? We're always trying to polish the stone, so to speak, right? So we are all flippant. Yes. This is what we're going to take a look at really quick. Let me pull up this so I can monitor the chat. This is really hard to look at, because what you have is you have a panel of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got a whole panel here. And you've got Scott H here. I do want to thank Scott H for reaching out to me about my sister's death. I appreciate that, buddy. But this morning, that does not keep us from being on the block. I appreciate anyone that's wished me a happy new year. Wished me well wishes on my, in regards to my sister's death. But that doesn't mean that when it's time to do the hanging, we won't do some hanging. Okay? We're going to do some hanging this morning. If we've all ever wondered why the hell Jodisues does what she does, let me show you why. Let me show you why. Okay. This is going to be a breakdown reaction. This also falls underneath the fair use. Anything I do to this piece of shit video will be transformative. It is also, we are all also here this morning for criticism, not constructively, though.
It came to us, and we're like, dude, this motherfucker.
Okay, let me back it up just a little bit. Jodisues. Oh, God, there's the man bun. I really got in his ass about them bangs. I think we will never see Josh wear bangs online again. So, and that's not the point here this morning. Actually, we have 9. Where did the 10th go? This is 3, 6, 9. There was 10 people here. I don't know much about this shit. Anyway, so we are seeing that Josh is clearly in support of all the women on the panel that were subject to Doug's depravity. Here we go. Hey, Doug. That's cool.
And neither one of them are good scenarios. So, you know.
I'm going to go with the latter.
He's just so soft-spoken. Just reminds you of a guy that women got to ask out. They got to ask him out on a date. I bet his ex-wife asked him to marry her. He's just so soft-spoken. It's just really hard to not like this guy. I don't like him, but it's so hard I'm conflicted with it, right? Because I want to be his friend and tell him how much that haircut fucking sucks in 2022.
Yeah, well, there's more than one way to be involved, though, right, Jodisues? Like, you can still be involved after the fact. Like, if he came home, something happened, and then he helped out, or he's just
Look at Jodisues. She's just fucking. She can't be bothered. This bitch just can't. Oh, there I go. No, I'm gonna call it her. That's her name. This bitch just can't be bothered. That's her new name. This bitch just can't be bothered.
keeping his mouth shut. I mean, that's still being involved.
You know, my first videos, Josh, public kind of caught on stuff I wasn't going to say then, and I'm still trying to. They noticed, they're like, well, she never says Dawn was there. I'm like, well, you know, common sense, though, right? Is it right?
So.
But it was literally in my stomach. I could never say 100% he wasn't. And because of doubts we had because of Utah and because we were digging for proof on stuff before Summer Witness, and it's a little too fucking late on that front. But we've been digging because we knew something was wrong. We just.
All right. So, what I'm gathering from Jodisues' involvement in all this, it just reminds me that Jodisues is trying to run a front to try to cover up something she has going on. I'm not suggesting that she's involved in Summer's disappearance at all. I am suggesting, however, that she's running some sort of deflection that is, she thinks, keeping law enforcement's eyes off of something she may have been involved in. Maybe she thinks she's, I don't know. Jodisues, there's more to Jodisues than meets the eye. More than meets the eye.
I couldn't figure out what. I couldn't, with a straight face, say. But I thought with a straight face, I was saying, well, I don't think Candace is involved. But now, judging by that last vid chat, her.
Now, this is a group of 9 people who are trying to determine someone's guilt or innocence after almost 7 months. And you're trying to gauge what you see by on YouTube, not in a jury of 12 and 2 alternates or 1 alternate, a jury of 9 idiots who are up in the middle of the night on a woman's channel who married someone for money. I mean, are we all discounting this fact that we found yet another woman who would sell her body for money? I mean, this is like the last ditch effort. When you've run up everything in life, all the business marriages, all the shit you could do for money without working, you come here. And all these people are okay with it. You got 9 people right here that are all okay with the fact that Ziggy admitted on, like, this is a whole separate fucking war.
And I had, and seeing more tears from her, and most of that night, knowing she was lying to me, knowing she helped target my kids and all this other shit. Then she had that first day, Summer went missing, and I caught her at the creek, and we talked. She was like, Summer's missing. I was like, I know.
Jody, you caught her at the creek. Was that the time that you didn't have any socks on and you were walking through the creek where they throw meth needles? Because you didn't want to leave a scent for the dog, right? Or was that when you were running through the woods on the KKK pop-up in the creek? You met at the creek then? Huh.
I was like, I'm looking, everything else.
Now let's also know we also have to note that Jody Sue is always fucked up out of her mind on some sort. I mean, I'm guessing it's a magical pill that slows her down that way. I mean, it's not a stimulant unless she has crazy ADHD. Well, then she might be able to take some meth and then go to sleep. But in this situation, we've seen and heard the many tones and shades of Jody Sue. So when it comes to taking an alcoholic's version of a drinking and driving accent, you're not going to ask the alcoholic usually because they didn't register in sponge in the information and then even have the applicable recall in order to vomit it onto a statement and make it make sense. And it'd be verifiable.
Knowing she showed more emotion than that fake ass.
Let me tell you what, taking the word of Jody Sue is like taking the word of the bum on the corner that smokes crack and always holds a 40-ounce liquor bottle, right? Like that's who, like we know that eyewitnesses are notoriously inconsistent. And then you add pills to it. Or you just make it Jody Sue. Jody Sue is like every police officer's worst nightmare in terms of a eyewitness. Like, yeah.
On video chat she had with me the other day than she had for some of that first day. I'm like, nope, no more. That face was black.
You mean you have a snake and a cat now in that trailer? And you smoke cigarettes? Holy good night team strategy. We're all going to the shitter now.
Or something wrong. But no, on those first few days when I made that first 16 on those videos, I couldn't with a straight face or a heart say Dawn's not, and so I just avoided it. And the public sort of caught on to it, but I was like, nah, it's not.
Jody Sue, I don't think anyone caught on to it because I see people still to this day that say they just figured out how to understand what you're saying. I think that's by virtue of slowing down this little button over here, wherever it's at, like hitting this. And like, I never in my life understood why people were making it. Like, I get it now, right? Like there is definitely a way that you can suit Jody Sue's voice to be received by your ears organically, where it's not so sharp and just you start bleeding out of, your eardrums.
Yeah, just, but
one of the things that really was weird, and if you
boy, she sucks the fuck. I mean, she sucks that cigarette like she's got fucking throat cancer. Hell yeah.
To remember when I can't remember, it was like Squall's channel or something that she was.
Damn, Jody looks a fucking mess too. She looks like she just woke up.
On and
don't say that name. If you say it every time,
I was about to say you're gonna say Jody Sue's favorite person there.
I figured Jody Sue has a lot of.
Does Josh have a choker on? Or is that just a standard issue length necklace that just doesn't hardly meet in the back?
Friends on here, but
oh yeah, they're down there somewhere.
When I was watching that and she's bawling like she always does, and then
there goes Josh, making fun of a woman that cries, just like his big brother Dougie.
And I'm not exactly sure if she says
he's working on a man bun. It's like not all the way formed yet. It's like in that very uncomfortable looking phase, but I'm concerned that he has that fucking thing pulled too tight in the back of his head. He ain't thinking straight.
I want to tell what happened to Summer. I wish I could tell what happened to Summer, but after that, Dawn says, well, why? He says, well, why do you think of back?
It's also so funny. Once I point out these microphones like YouTube penises, isn't it so funny to watch these grown men just position their mouth all the way around these things like they can't move their face away from that YouTube penis, because as soon as they move their face away from that YouTube penis, the money stops.
Back to this whole time, baby. Like he's putting all his faith in what she has said. And that's him.
Speak directly into the cock, Josh.
Basically saying, look, this is your deal. I'm backing you. But whatever happened to Summer, when it comes down to it, it's on you.
I don't know if it was EB or you, somebody the other night that was going through one of their first interviews.
See, she can't even remember who she saw or heard saying shit. Right there, she said, I don't remember if it was you or somebody else. Like, Jodisue, this was just yesterday. You don't remember who something or someone sounded or looked like. You mean to tell me 7 months ago you're still able to recall this shit like it was yesterday, but you can't actually remember what happened yesterday? Ugh.
The one where she's so messed up, right? And they're sitting there, and it was the one with Ansley Daniels, and they're sitting there, and Candace is out of it, so it was harder for her to control her facial reactions. But Dawn says in that part, he goes, you know, about her being kept or her being dead, and Candace immediately is like, the look on her face is, to me, it says, well, what the hell do you mean? Like, almost like a,
Oh no. Now we're listening to Jodisue interpret someone else's emotions. Jodisue has no, I mean, she is emotionally bland, emotionally non-existent.
you told me it would be okay, or she's going to be okay, or wherever she is, almost like, but wait, that's not what the hell you promised me with my daughter.
Yep, I remember that. I saw that. It was very.
So that's the issue right there. When Jodisue says some shit and then she waits for the applause, these women all on cue, they're like, ah, yeah. Did you see that? Josh didn't jump in, though.
Like,
Candace needed Dawn to get rid of her because Candace would have said to Dawn, I think
There, Josh. Yeah, just that penis to your face. Let's get that adjusted.
Candace needed Dawn
You see him just putting his mouth on it?
to get rid of her because Candace would
There
have
it
said
is.
to Dawn,
Got a penis adjust.
are they going to find out if you've done
Like, the fucking guy moved it just to move it right back where it was. Like, can you imagine how many times he does this in a week?
anything to her? You know, in a
It's just so, I don't know why I have such a hard time looking at these men now, because it's usually the men that have these fucking extensions with these YouTube dicks in their face. Like, I have a really hard time looking at a man with a man bun moving a fucking YouTube dick in his face all day. Like, it's so, I can't get over it, guys. I'm sorry. This shit is just,
CMY, and they're going to find out. So you better get rid of her. And I think that's really what's happened here. So they kind of
I
got so
think
much
it
dirt
might
on
be a
each
little
other.
bit more serious.
like, dude, you're not even talking. You can move that fucking thing from around. Dude, God bless.
Well, but
Yes, Criminal Ties. The Bangs have left the building. We need to file a missing report on them Bangs looking ass boy.
but
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think.
But that's
I
just
really
a
think
theory.
it's so.
Marge Gunderson says Josh looks like a sumo. He looks like a sumo wrestler that's vaguely vaguely a relative to Damien Eccles. Anybody know who Damien Eccles is? He was the young man that was involved in the West Memphis 3. Let's find a good old picture of old Damien here. Where are we at? I'm actually really tearing Damien Eccles a new one by making him even remotely close to looking like Josh. But there's the Bangs right there. You can see the Bangs, although Damien has a neck. So, but it's really the Bangs that bring me back to who Josh really is, you know, back to, you know, his younger days where he looked like a puppy whose legs were too long for him.
well, these
Is
are all
that the interview where she turned around and If looks could kill you.
It is really Candace in the chat. Yes. April. I do support Eccles. You want to know why? Because of the Alford, right? Guess what? If the state of Arkansas wouldn't have offered him an Alford plea, he would have been out by now and he would have been a fucking millionaire. So, yes, I do believe the state only offered the West Memphis Three the Alford plea so as when they got the appeals and came home, they couldn't each consecutively sue for around, it's usually about $1 million a year for every year that you were falsely incarcerated. So you're looking at 60 million because those boys were locked up 18 years. So yeah, I do believe it. I don't believe the state of Arkansas would cut nobody loose. Not if they had the fucking data, right?
Dawn would have been dead right then.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move forward really quick. I wanted to just kind of prime you guys with the bullshit. So we're going to move forward to where we start talking about her talking in codes. It's frustrating as a motherfucker to listen to, and that's why I kind of brought this up as a segment this morning. Not a show, Josh, because I don't do shows, buddy. This is a segment. I'm going to start playing this, and then when I stop, after my reaction, I'm going to go to the chat and see if I can get any clarity. What I'm really here for this morning, guys, is that alcoholic aha moment, that moment of clarity where it all makes sense for a moment, and then you try to hold on to that and bring it forth with you.
If you're from this area.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
Did you
but
hear that, Jodisues?
that long ago. Thank you.
Now, I can see that I've made Josh uncomfortable in the way that he feels like he looks live because I've talked about his neck. And he keeps playing with those fucking upper buttons up there. I don't think we'll ever see the bangs come back. So, I guess in a sense, you can kind of see how the constructive criticism about Josh has sort of kind of tightened up that situation. Josh used it as constructive info, and he's making the adjustments and he's pushing forward. So I do see that the lab is malleable in that sense. Malleable would be this, that's malleable. You can shape and form him like clay. So as when you walk away, he's going to remain rigid, much in the same way you left him.
Was that Josh?
One thing I wanted to say while I wanted to come up was, back to Jodisue and her very first interviews, a lot of people were talking about those when she very first did them. Or, she had done them on Facebook, and then they...
So, Scott, I don't mean to correct you this morning, but those were not interviews. Those were spouts of hate against anyone. I mean, she already hated some imaginary, she already, with intent to murder children, already hated any potential invisible person that may move to that property. What's strange is the person that bought that property was Jackie Dobbs. You've heard her say that if anybody stepped a foot on her property, they're dead. Jackie Dobbs did, and she called the fucking police is all she did. Remember? So she only would hurt a child. I do believe that. She would not hurt a grown man in Jackie Dobbs or any other man. They would just call the police. They wouldn't even use the mountain agreement, the mountain ethics, the mountain morality. If you step on my property, just like she said back on Facebook, she's going to shoot you. But now here on YouTube, she just calls the police and hides in her cabin scared. So what she says and what she does are completely different, and you have to quantify. Listen, you don't listen to the bullshit Jodisue tells you. You listen to the bullshit someone else tells you about Jodisue. That's when it's true. In this scenario, you can listen to what other people say because they are going to tell you the truth by proxy about Jody. most of the time when somebody else says, oh, they said this, a lot of times they're incorrect.
It up on YouTube, and a lot of people were saying, you know, she's talking in these secrets. And
Josh, all these weird mouth movements around this microphone, bro, you got to stop that shit. I'm gonna start striking your videos for sexual content, bro. Like, it's gonna trigger somebody. Like, you got to stop that shit, bro.
these riddles, and people still say that to this day. And Yennefer is from.
And that's true. And I've
She's
said
local,
that there are
I'm
riddles.
local.
Now, Scott kind of opened the segue and said she talks in riddles. I talk in riddles sometimes, but let me tell you what, when I'm trying to get to the fucking point, I remove all jokes and games and put them aside, and I handle fucking business. Right?
Jodisue is local. And those first videos that Jodisue put out, if you're from this area, you could read between Jodisue's lines.
Look, in between Jodisue's lines lays a straw. Okay? There is nothing in between Jodisue's lines. Listen, she has to talk in riddles or else her usefulness ran out 7 months ago. Okay? This woman hasn't added anything to this shit. Everything she said, the fucking sheriff said it's unfounded. All she's doing is adding complicated riddles, like, to the fucking thing. Like, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Right? Kind of shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like 7 months of fucking riddles? You kidding me? You haven't stood on a stage anywhere, but you got 7 months worth of material.
Just like she was speaking it.
Yep.
No, you cannot, Scott. You're full of shit. You cannot read between those lines and make sense out of any of this fucking shit. It doesn't matter where you live at. You are still speaking fucking English, sir.
Really?
Now, further, if you can make sense out of what that woman is saying, Scott, I dare say you need to be her handler and her interpreter and fucking make sense out of this shit for her. You need to attach yourself to her hip region and walk in tandem with her like it's a potato sack race every fucking place she goes, because nobody can make sense out of any of this shit, and nothing that she has said has been taken seriously by any fucking buddy except you idiots on YouTube. The police, they don't give a fuck about what she says. In fact, they are saying that the scream unfounded. That's kind of like a police generic way of saying she lied.
Really could. And that's something that, now, regardless, we can take everything that Ronnie Lawson said, whether the scream was unfounded or not. Jodisue's already said throw all that stuff out.
Why wouldn't Jodisue instead dig her feet in, take a stance like this, and fight to have, she's fought for 7 months to have people hear about this scream. This scream is the very thing that's given Jodisue celebrity status. The scream. Now she's like, okay, fuck it. Just forget about it. Sheriff said it's no good. Fucking forget about it. Just forget I even said it. Okay? Sheriff said, nah, we don't believe that. Okay, fuck it. Now you've got to find a way to make everybody forget about the scream.
Throw out everything.
And you've got to figure out a way to make sense out of the fact that Boogie, your son, came on and talked about the scream too. Remember when you put him on the news and he said it was an animalistic scream, and then you came right behind him and you contradicted what he said and you said it was not an animalistic scream. But so between you and Boogie, I don't think there was a scream, because he said it sounded one way and you said it sounded a fucking another.
Everything that she said, but there's certain things that Jodisue said from jump.
Scott, some of the things she said from jump was that she would shake children to death. Anybody that stepped on her property, she would kill. She said a lot of things. and then did exactly the opposite. See, she's still standing here tough with this tough mountain woman bullshit. But let me tell you what she did. When Jackie Dobbs challenged that property line that she said she would do anything to protect, what did she do? She ran in the house and called the police. She didn't do dick. She runs her fucking mouth, and she's a piece of very, very turbulent shit.
Very beginning, Sue got on YouTube that are now.
I mean, seriously, if you had to, no, I'm not gonna leave that alone.
Not from Jodisues' mouth, but from Don's mouth, are filling in the blanks of the things that Jodisue was leaving out.
Let me tell you what. If anything that Don said out of his mouth was filling a gap, it wouldn't be to bring a truthful light to the shit she says or he says. It would to be bringing his daughter home, right? You people just want YouTube understanding. So if we had to trade YouTube being in complete pitch dark or bringing that girl home, would that be okay? Oh, no. They want to keep her gone so as they can sit here and fight for money and, you know, a very relative, unattainable understanding. Because even after and if this thing goes to court with any suspect or offender, you'll get to the end, they'll slam the gavel, and the shit still won't fucking make sense to you. So to try to chase down an understanding that's going to be hotboxed from Jodisue and her Puma trailer is just, it's beyond the pale of understanding. It's beyond the pale of comparison, right? You people are celebrating her like a YouTube celebrity, but in fact, she's a person of interest. So I think you guys unwittingly don't even know what the fuck you're doing. What you're doing is you're keeping a suspect talking. And let me tell you what, she changes her story more than anybody else involved in this whole fucking thing.
But being a local, we knew exactly what Jodisue was talking about.
No, you didn't. Because if you did, it wouldn't take you 7 fucking months to interpret this shit, Scott. You know, nobody fucking understands what she's saying in 2 different ways. They can't even audibly understand what she's saying, and they certainly are not reading between the lines, sir. I mean, her husband didn't have an understanding with her. He couldn't understand what the fuck she was saying, so he put her out. Nobody understands what this bitch is saying.
And I still do that, and Scott can see it. He's local.
Now, this is where she's doing that nod of confirmation. You're not going to see any of the other people, the other 8, interact with this portion because this is just a thing between Scott and Jody. Scott wants you to believe that he can read between those lines. Not knowing that unwittingly what he's doing is he's immersing himself in the insanity because I myself cannot understand what she's saying. And it is not any sort of, let's say seventh sense in order to try to pick up what the fuck she's saying. Scott, you're giving credit to fucking gibberish. This shit is gibberish.
And he can see what I'm doing, and I'm sure it's not apparent to you all, but I know law enforcement and things like that are seeing and hearing.
Now, why the fuck, if she cares so much, is she expressing to you her truth that she knows law enforcement is hearing and watching? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Do you mean to tell me we ought to start sending persons of interest onto Jay fucking Leno's to keep them talking? This is not what you think it is, Jody. You lost context with this thing a long time ago.
And it's my easiest method to be like, here, this is...
Does Josh have chopsticks in his hair? Doesn't it look like he's got 2 pencils sticking in like this, like a sexy Asian school teacher?
What?
He does have chopsticks in his hair. Doesn't he? I'm still trying to figure out why he tries to hide that Willy Wonka door behind that shower curtain. That's not even a shower curtain. That's an actual silky window covering. That's really strange. Moving on.
Film this week. Or here, that way I don't have to make a call. Here it is, you know, but.
Did you hear what she said? She almost said, here it is. Now I don't have to make the call. That's my contention. She wants to be seen and heard here instead of remaining quiet and ascertaining some sort of vacuum for this stuff to stay in, right? This is how you know that anything this bitch hears is bullshit, because if it weren't bullshit, she'd just pick up the phone and she'd call TBI, because Jody still is trying to convince you that she's here for summer. She's not here for summer. If she was here for summer, she'd shut up. All these people would shut the fuck up, and then I'd be able to stop doing what I'm doing.
So there are pieces in there I still try not to give away because they do. No.
There are still pieces in there she tries not to give away. So if you're not trying to give them away here, because this shit is life to you, if you're not trying to give them away here, I know for a fact you haven't given them to the police either, because you're going to give the shit here first. That's what you're saying. You just said, you know, they're listening and hearing. You just said that. That means they're getting the information you think you're getting here and not over a private call. You fucking idiot.
Not the police, but others listen and gain, and I don't want them to be able to hide cover. It's like I won't say outright exactly what pieces I'm still looking for.
This bitch is chasing the reward. She's chasing the reward. You know what $70,000 would do to Jodisues' life? It would end it. It would fucking end it. That's what it would do.
And things like that. And at the end of the day, it's not my job, right? Not law enforcement. But for me, if I can find a way to delete that screen, if I can find a way to delete this or delete that, then because there are things I'm trying to unlock for me that maybe could be.
So now I think she's alluding to the fact that she believes she has information locked in her mind that only consistent daily use of opioids is going to unlock. Jodisue, if there's something locked in your fucking mind, let me tell you what, hun, it is fucking gone. You are not retrieving it out of that fucking clam trap. I promise you that.
Be helpful to somewhere in that case, no matter how this ends. You know, and unfounded to me means they can't prove or disprove.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know exactly what unfounded means. I mean, I can generically, I mean, we can all use unfounded, but let's find out what it actually is. Having no foundation or basis in fact. It does not mean it can't be proved true or false. Unfounded mean it has no foundation or basis in fact. What it means, Jodisue, is that it lacked the things to build a foundation to be found believable. You just gave us a definition of unfounded that is way incorrect. Let's play it back. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
The scream was unfounded or not.
Here we go.
Jodisues already said, throw all that stuff out.
Unfounded.
Throw out everything, but there's certain things that Jodisue said from
groundless, baseless,
unsubstantiated, since Jodisue
unproven,
got on YouTube,
unsupported,
that are now not from Jodisue's mouth, but from Don's mouth.
The vehicle had to stop somewhere up there.
Regardless, we can take it.
That are seeing and hearing. And it's my easiest method to be like, here, this is what I found this week. Or here, that way I don't have to make a copy. Here it is, you know, but Also, there are pieces in there I still try not to give away because they do, not the police, but others listen and gain, and I don't want them to be able to hide cover. It's like I won't say outright exactly what pieces I'm still looking for, and things like that. And at the end of the day, it's not my job, right? Not law enforcement. But for me, if I can find a way to delete that screen, if I can find a way to delete this or delete that, then because there are things I'm trying to unlock for me that maybe could be helpful too, somewhere in that case, no matter how this ends. You know, and unfounded to me means they can't prove or disprove. And that's unfortunate. Oh, wow.
No, Jody Sue, unfounded means it has no foundation of or basis in fact. It can mean whatever the fuck it wants to you. But to the rest of the world and to the police department, it means it has no basis in fact. Which you could say that the basis, if the foundation or basis is not fact, then it's lie or it's inaccurate. Okay? Vocabulary, sleuthing all in one.
I wish you could, man. I'm being wrong. Have been since day one. But that car door and that flash of a vehicle and the timelines start putting everything together. I do. You know.
I have a question.
Is she's set up her trailer behind her like a set. Like kind of like Joshy's here. See it? She's getting full. She's full-fledged. I don't know what you call her. She's a full-fledged panel whore. She just hops from panel dick to panel dick. But she wants to make sure it looks good behind her. Right? She wants to look good while doing this.
When you said that you saw that vehicle, you saw a flash of red, but it wasn't the same red as the Subaru, correct?
It was a color of red, and in her exact words, it was a red that was missing the clear coat.
Isn't I want to start calling up. She dropped.
Fucking yeah. Yeah, she does. Right? That right there, that is if she were mad, that would have been called a rage quit. I don't know what you call this. This would have been called a very convenient quit. Look at Josh.
How dare you ask her a question?
I know. Damn.
What were you gonna say
She'll be
before,
back.
Josh?
She'll be back. Oh, yeah.
Fucking right, she'll be back. Look at Josh. Look how I caught Josh. Oh, that's terrible. He's about to take the whole girth. Look at him. Oh God, these YouTube penises. Just look at the state of this shit. This is just like you got a lady in the middle there. She looks like she's very angry, but I'm guessing she thinks this is her sexy face. When I put my eyebrows down in the middle and up on the side, man, you know I'm pissed. So is that what you call the resting angry face?
Oh,
There's Jody Sue. Holy shit, she didn't run a comb through her head though.
I was just saying,
I'm gonna come back.
Holy shit. She cares about what the back of her looks like, but not the front of her.
So my question. Okay, so the question is when you said that you saw that red, that flash of
Jody Sue, what are you doing? I do want to mention that your eyebrows have gotten darker over the last week. I don't know what the fuck. I think you've taken a makeup tutorial here. When you're not fighting true crime, you're figuring out how to subtly sneak in darker eyebrows on us. Fuck.
the red. Now, trust me, I understand what the gravel sounds like, the different vehicles, because I am local. I understand what you mean by all of that.
I don't know how local she is because she don't have that same twang to her. She's an out-of-state local. In fact, Jennifer is one of those out-of-state locals that Jody Sue actually really hates and that she said that she would kill their children. So She's not going to consider you a local, ma'am. You're not local enough to understand the riddle like Scott and Jodisue do.
But isn't,
You know where? Have you watched the video of where Keys is running down the driveway? You see-
Oh, shit. Don't you fucking say in this expose, this segment here, don't you fucking say that I made you do it. Don't you say some shit like I made you do some shit.
yes.
Okay. That vehicle, when it made its way up that day, not far beyond where Keys, where you first start to see him and say, yucky, running down.
Look at Josh. He's just rubbing his mustache on that YouTube penis. Like, these guys got to get more couth and subtle with the way that they address that penis.
That vehicle had to stop somewhere up there because there's a right.
Mhm.
And then you turn around a loop and you go around their house.
She's not telling you the whole story. She's making you believe that when you come up that drive, you have to take a right and go around the house. You don't have to. You can go straight up that driveway and loop to the right and not have to make a loop left. So imagine a circle like this. You can go either way. I mean, it's a full circle. You do not have to go right.
That vehicle did not make a complete circle. It did not go up to the main house.
Listen, there's no way she could fucking know that, because if the car goes left, it's further away from the crest of the hill. So the car could have very certainly went straight up the driveway and she would not have been able to see it. The only way she can see it is when you take a right, you're down below her field of sight. It's when you come up past the blue truck, you start to crest the same grade as the house. That's where Jodisue could see. If they went left and straight, if they didn't go left, if they stayed straight, it isn't like this, actually. It's like this. It's a P. Okay? It's a P. Now, when you lay it this way, it's tipped like this. The side facing Jodisue's is higher than the left side of the drive by 20 feet. If you took this crest and you went way over here straight towards the straight portion of the P, you won't see the car down here, not until you get up here next to Don's shed. That's where you would crest the top of that hill where Jodisue could see across. This fucking vehicle, this red vehicle, if it had stayed in the straight portion of the driveway, she would not have seen it.
Okay. The traction was wrong for the Subaru. Now, whether that be because it didn't go up to the part where that traction would click over for that Subaru.
She's lying. That Subaru is full-time four-wheel drive all the time. Look it up. It doesn't catch four-wheel drive or any of that shit. It's full-time four-wheel drive all the time. Four wheels turning. You don't push a button. It just is always that way.
Or whether it's that it was an entirely different vehicle altogether is...
Now she's started to mix the vehicles together. Before, she was very adamant that this red was very different than the Subaru, and so different, in fact, specifically, that it did not have the clear coat on it. Now she's making it seem as could have been the same.
But it was not. It was like the clear coat on it was gone. The red was wrong
But she started all this with like, I don't know.
somehow, or dusty, because there have been no reason how I recognized it as theirs for me to ask my son, who was that?
Now, let's talk about you and your son. Your son said that this scream was animalistic. You came on directly behind him and said that it was not animalistic. So now you're asking Boogie, who frequently in this case contradicts what you say. Now you're asking him for his opinion on your guys' snoop. You guys always snoop on them. You know everything that happens in the fucking holler. Even at night, Jody?
That's exactly what I did. Because I had a view, he had a towards his back turn, and then he looked
Okay, I've got to take a moment here. We've got to go all the way deep with this thing. We're going to deep throat on Jodisues, right? WJHL, neighbor, heard, scream. Hold on, Jodisue. Now let's go back here really quick.
Kevin Bacon here, and I want to give you a chance to
Damn, Kevin Bacon looks
win
old.
a fully restored 19.
The Wells family lives across the street from a neighboring property. On mirroring mountains, together they can be described as sentinels, which sit high listening still.
We heard just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic.
Animalistic, but not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't an animal.
That
Wasn't a dog, wasn't an animal. Your fucking son just said it was animalistic. Okay, so now what she's doing is she's polling her son, who contradicts her on regular TV, on YouTube, in regular fucking TV. You're now polling your son, who sees the shit different than you. This is how you know eyewitness testimony is notoriously inconsistent. He said it's animalistic. She said it's not. Police said it's unfounded. And so Jodisues says, throw it out. Forget about it. How the fuck do we forget about you talking about this scream in front of 90,000 fucking people, Jody? Now you want us to just fucking forget about it. Seriously? Wait, let's roll that beautiful being footage one more time.
still.
We heard just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic, but not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't an animal.
There, that's enough of that.
It's the neighbor. So I didn't really catalog, but my brain did hear, and I saw, but there was something wrong with that vehicle that day, and the cops and feds told me as days went by it would solidify where it was supposed to go, and that would be normal, and I told them to leave me.
Now, I really hope, I haven't watched this, I really hope she isn't getting ready to tell us what the FBI told her. We don't need to know that, Jody. We need you to keep your big fucking mouth shut this morning.
To leave it the hell alone, and it did eventually. And they respected that. They were like, we want to ask you more about it. We'll let it solidify. And then
We'll let your lies solidify. Definition of solidify. Make or become hard or solid. Or make stronger and reinforce. That means, or could mean, get your fucking lies straight.
so.
But I always,
Look at Josh. What he's just making love to that fucking microphone. Now he's got his mouth open. Just look at this shit.
if it wasn't, isn't grandmother's, the tailgate of hers a red? And then she didn't go all the way up the hill. Maybe she went part way up.
I
Like,
would have recognized hers immediately.
Thanks for being real about that one, Jody. Hold on, guys. All right. Yeah, this is a mess, guys.
And this was the top of the car, like the window section. That I saw.
okay. Because I didn't know, I never heard you specify how much of it that you saw, but
Let's go to school real quick. I just can't listen to her fucking lie no more. Applications. Google Earth. I'm going to fucking prove it to you. She's fucking lying. She is fucking lying. 110 End Hill Road. Close. Okay, what I need you to focus on here. Let's turn this a little. Turn it the other way. Okay. So, this right here, it comes up, it's a P, and then it comes back down to the road. Now, what is interesting, what I need you to pay attention to, right? This right here, look at the elevation here. 1370, okay? This is the low side of the drive. Let's go up here to the high side of the drive. 1390. It is exactly 20 feet, just like I fucking told you. It is 20 feet lower over here than it is over here, okay? Now, we're at 1380. 10, it's 10 feet. Well, you could squeeze it and get, it's 10 feet. Pardon me. I stand corrected. Now, so you're at 1383 here. You can actually see this portion of the drive is actually higher than where the house sits. We're at 1387. You move over to the house, it's actually almost, 8 feet lower, right? So this is Jodisues' house where the yellow is. We're at 1383, 1384. You come over here, Jodisues' house is actually lower in elevation, okay? Now, for Jodisue to see over, there is a hill right here. For Jodisue to see over this hill is impossible, okay? So, as you can see it, 1369, it's right down here, guys, right here. 1369 to the high side of their driveway. Boom. Now, 1369 to the high side of the driveway. You could almost get 90 out of it. Let's get 90 out of it. There you go. So the high side of the drive is 20 feet higher than Jodisues. So you got 1368 here. What is the low side of the drive, Benny? She couldn't see anything coming up this way. Not until it got right in there. Once it gets in here, you've still got 10 feet difference from here to here, and then another 10 feet from here to here. Jodisue can't see this shit like she says she can, and I just proved it to you right now. She's a liar. She's lying right here.
And when the what is it called? The droids flew by, we saw that her tailgate was red. And that always stuck in my mind. Maybe it was her, but I understand, recognize.
So now what's happened is Jennifer has used Ziggy's platform to make grandma something she's not. That would be slanderous and defamatory and libel.
Candace came down in her mom's, right? When she met me. And I know right now the whole big thing is, well, Jodisue was bone dry. I don't know how deep that dumb bitch thinks that creek is for starters, but secondly, anybody's pay attention to what I've said from the beginning.
Let me tell you how deep that creek is. When it's dry, it'll run anywhere from 1 foot to 3 feet, right? Depending. The bank, when I was there, the water was down inside, but the bank was definitely 3 feet, from the top of the bank to the bottom of the to the bottom of the water was roughly 3 feet.
I was starting down.
And the other thing is she says, I don't know how deep that bitch thinks the fucking creek is. It was deep enough for her to think she needed to go look in the creek with her feet. Remember, in the meth creek with the needles? Now she's saying it's not that fucking deep, but before she said she was looking for that little girl in that creek.
In that area, you know, where MGL and all them were like, we found drug activity. I said from the beginning, there was a spot there in that curve that is one of two places I cannot see you on that road. And it's where druggies pull in and they use and they toss the needles out.
Let me tell you what. You do know that I walked all through that area, and you do know I was looking for needles, right? Look me in my face when I tell you I didn't see not one fucking needle, and I know this bitch didn't go down there and clean them up. There isn't no fucking needles there. She's lying. If there were fucking needles in that pond the way that this bitch posts, she would have had needles in a picture in the pond on her Facebook. She's fucking lying.
That might
And
have said.
that's where I was stepping down into to go ahead and go down into the creek. I heard Candace coming down her driveway. I stepped back up out of that spot and onto the roadway. I waited for her for a second. It is so loud who she's talking to. But I'm like, who the hell's in the vehicle? Or that's a grown, you know, it just didn't.
It's a grown what?
And then she gets there, and I'm confused because there's nobody in the thing with her. I'm like, what the hell? And she was like, summer's gone, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Dawn speaks up from the phone. She's holding on speakerphone. And he goes, so you're telling me somebody took my baby girl? And I'm like, oh.
I don't know what all that extra was. That's just her, what do they call that? Physical comedy.
So there's who she was speaking to. And it is one of the moments.
What she's really trying to do in this moment is she's trying to build the dramatic about Don saying, oh, I guess somebody took my child. You know how when you set people down in a circle and you say red van and they pass it around and by the time it gets back, it's yellow Corvette? That happens on accident. This bitch does it on purpose.
That I wish, because I know I heard what they were talking about loud and clear. I mean, they were.
So what she's left out of the chronology, oh, there goes Josh. What she's left out of the chronology is the scream, right? Before stepping out of the creek and hearing Candace come down, you would have naturally, if the scream was real, you would have heard Jodisues say, I heard Candace say, coming down the hill, summer was gone. And then right at that point, Jody, is when you would have interjected into the conversation organically. You would have said, well, Candace, I heard the scream. I heard the scream. Why does she conveniently keep leaving the scream out? I'll tell you why. It's because of her definition of unfounded. That's why.
Super loud coming down that driveway. And I wished I could unlock those words. That there was some sort of hypnosis.
Look at Doug. Ha ha. By where Candace's jeans almost fell off of Benny. No, Doug, we're almost last night you triggered 1,000 women. That's where, Doug. You joker, you. Why don't you put the focus on your behavior for a minute, Doug? Because guess what? You've got two assholes now. And if I asked you if they were together, you'd say who, and I'd say your butt cheeks, and then you'd walk your happy ass right out of Ziggy's chat. Look at him over here supplementing and supplicating to Ziggy after what he did to her the night before. Holy shit, Doug, you are a fucking animal. Holy boy. Look, he wants to be a part of this.
That worked or something, because I have a feeling those words, what was being said, is because she couldn't hear me. I was screaming up at her for I don't know how long. Well, Candace, I hear you all. I'm looking down here. She couldn't hear me.
Thank you for removing that, Ziggy. That was very dry.
because of the way the bank curves, almost like a mushroom out. She couldn't
I think she's on mushrooms. That's what I think.
hear me. And so I was just like, this is wasting time. And I went ahead, went to the creek, looked on the right side of the tunnel, looked down, make sure someone wasn't there. Went to the left, started to step down.
This shit is unbelievable. Hold on. This shit is unbelievable. Unfucking believable.
In there and head towards the creek. And here's the tombstone driveway. But now she's all like, she was dry as a bone. I'm like, okay, yes, I noticed details.
Why didn't she mention the needles in the creek when she stepped into it? She always mentions the needles before, almost like a badge of honor that she walked in the creek with all these needles. There is no fucking needles. She's a liar.
The fuck is your daughter?
So was it by the shed that you can't see? That, you know, the one that's by the road? Is that where you can't see? Yep.
That I was at?
Yeah, well, is that where you can't see really if somebody's there? Is
No.
that shed?
No. That's on the opposite side. That's on the main road.
Let me tell you what, Jodisues, when you look in terms of body language, hold on one second. When you think in terms of body language, Jodisues' eyebrows never move. And we know that you can tell a lot about what's on a person's mind by the furrow in their brow, right? That's real good body language analysis, right? Her eyebrows never move. I'm not really sure what that actually means, but what it really means to me is that she's sort of bland and incapable of relaying true emotion, right? It's not just in her voice. She wants to convince everyone that it's her voice that makes her seem the way she is. It's the relative emotional or unemotional looks on your face that don't make it seem like it is what you say it is.
That's where, if you look at the video where Dawn pulls in, I don't know if it was with Doug or somebody has it up. I can't remember. One of them has stuff. I think Michelle After Dark has it up. Yeah, she does. And Dawn pulls in some of the growth from where the tree cutters and all came through his back, but nowhere near. But Dawn pulls in and he says, the neighbor was.
Thank you, Josh. I got tired of looking at you make out with that YouTube penis, dude. God bless.
There, the boys were here. That's where I was at looking. And the other neighbor.
But still no talk of the screen in conjunction to the chronological footsteps of that day, right? She's telling you, trying to be very specific about everything that happened during that segment of time, but completely has removed that scream. Like, because the police said it wasn't real or true, that it wasn't based in fact, they did not take Jodisues or her son Boogie's word for it. They thought both of them were lying. And so because they said it was unfounded publicly, she's removed the scream from the whole dialogue.
Remember who he's talking about when he points to the left. And that's the main road. The shed's not far from where I was at the back shed, the big one.
She's talking about down on the flat. So she would have been essentially around in the area Molly Golightly was, but down the hill more towards the creek, because there's a creek that separates the high hill from the low flat where the shed is.
Jodisue, I've got one question that, and you may have clarified this before.
Oh, Scott, don't you get ahead of yourself. This bitch ain't clarified a fucking thing, sir.
And I just haven't heard it. I thought originally
you have heard it, but you've heard it 18 different fucking ways, and that's why you're confused on This Morning now.
Like Jennifer was saying, when we had the drone fly over and we saw that the tailgate on Grandis's truck was red, I actually thought for a minute, I was like, well, I wonder if maybe if Jodisue just got a glimpse, that could have been it. And then I heard you clarify.
So if you heard her already clarify about 3 minutes ago that it wasn't Grandma's truck, why are you revisiting this in front of 1,200 people, trying to re-sophisticate this situation for Jody with the fucking red tailgate, dude? She's already went through this. This is the problem that you see on these things, is that they cover something and then an idiot who was watching a chat or something somewhere else wasn't paying attention to what was going on here, or they have a constructive motive to get back to that question to reapply that pressure on her. We already applied the pressure to her about the tailgate, Scott, and from the drone, Scott.
Clarify that wasn't it. What I haven't heard you clarify, and I don't even know if you can say, and if you can't, I'm cool with that. You know, we've talked tons. Is it possible, or did you ever see that vehicle that went up the road, Candace's road, come back down?
The driveway?
No, the fucking freeway, you idiot. Yes, the fucking driveway. The one in question. The one that we've all been talking about, people coming down loudly. Yes, Jody. Read between the lines, Jody.
The flash up? That's the thing. What's my son said, and I had...
Her contradictive son. Contradictive to her statements. So now what she's going to do is she's going to thrust forward her son's point of view as her own point of view and as fact, because these people all are taking anything Jodisues says as fact. She has that magnificent power of her opinion becoming fact.
Have clarified, but once my son said, well, it's neighbors, and then he finished checking the line.
So your son said it's the neighbor. You say it's not. We have yet another contradiction. Well, good morning. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, please, because I don't fucking understand it.
And so we kind of turned around, went back to the cabin, and paid it no more. Never mind.
Didn't even talk about the scream you heard, huh? We keep forgetting about this scream. Like, she has completely exited this scream out of one of her fucking ears. She can't even hear herself in her own head talking about that scream anymore. It's gone. That scream should be the thing that all of you are talking about right now. The scream. Jodisues is famous for the scream. Why is no one talking about the thing that she's fucking famous for? Because you all have enabled her a platform to change her story.
And
That's
then,
fair. That's fair.
Because I thought, but I don't recall hearing.
So that he says that's fair. Scott, what you asked her was a question about the vehicle coming down the hill. She gave you her son's account, and then you close it up by saying that's fair. That isn't fair at all, Scott. Come on, dude. These people call themselves investigators and helpers. You're enablers and codependent to Jodisues and her factual opinions.
And any gravels after that. There was still no dog barks. There was nothing that day.
Did you hear that? No dog barks.
But
I'm trying to understand, because Bullhorn Betty and all of them said the dogs were barking. You said the dogs aren't barking. Fucking make that make sense. That's a fucking estrogen-filled epic showdown.
The reason I was thinking was, Candace came down the driveway talking to Dawn on the phone and everything, and you had already been down in the creek. And then after
the Methy Needle Creek, at that,
you talked to her, you went back down into the creek. What I was
back
wondering,
into the creek area right there where the drug activity was, right?
Drug activity was. What's that about? Do you mean you just inserted drug activity like you did the scream?
What I was wondering, though, was while you were down there searching the creek, your mind was focused on something else. Is there a possibility?
It was meth needles. She said it many times. Her mind was focused on meth needles. Not only that, Let's add to the complication and sophistication of this statement she has to recall, right? She was trying not to leave a scent. She's trying not to step on any meth needles that aren't there and trying not to leave a scent for the dogs that she knows are coming. She knows the dogs are en route.
Possibility that car that went up could have coasted down quietly, and
if you go fast down that driveway, that's how you make less noise. When you try to creep down that driveway, that's when the rocks turn over and it makes more noise. Hold on one second. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. This is very, very, it's hard to listen to because it's filled with actual things that aren't true, but she's passing them as facts. So these aren't even, these are dangerously inaccurate opinions that have become fact. This thing's a fucking mess. She's like the godmother of the mess.
you never paying any attention to it because you were focused on something else. Candace
should have been the scream, right? At this point, the scream should have been the thing that everyone was focused on, right? 89,000 people heard her talk on WJHL about that scream, her and Boogie. That fucking scream should be the thing you're talking about at this point. Because the scream signifies and corroborates what Candace said, that something happened, right? She was in there going, oh, Don says his child was took. You heard a scream. Candace comes down and says the child's gone. You then hear Don say, oh, somebody took my kid. You don't know what was set up the hill, right? Now, if the scream was actual and factual when Candace comes down the hill, that should have been the thing that was the topic of the conversation, right? You would have said, oh, well, oh my God, Candace, I heard the scream. What's funny is that you and Boogie are the only ones that can't get it right about the scream. Nobody else has said they heard a scream except for you and Boogie. Your daughter was there too. Did she hear the scream? Jodisue also had a big-ass bull mastiff that was chained to a tree out there. And that fucker barked like the birds chirp. So there's a lot of things acoustically and visually in this thing that she has put no preciseness to. She's put no parameters to. She just says it whimsically, and that's supposed to stick. I just showed you on the Google Earth that it would be an impossibility for her to see a car come up the left side of the P, the straight side of the P. She couldn't have seen that. There's two hills in the way, essentially. You've got the top part of Jackie Dobbs' property going over the road. Then you've got the crest, the top, the cusp of the Wells driveway on the right-hand side going down to the low side. So essentially what she's done here is she's created a scenario where she actually is, essentially with her words, driving the narrative to the right. She has no way of knowing. None. Now, if you step on back, I have all the messages between me and Jodisue to prove it. Jodisues said she kept seeing a red truck drive up and down that road for 2 weeks. She said that the red truck was driving up and down the road that day. She said the person in the red truck was at the same garage sale Candace was at the day that her and Grandma bought the school's clothes for summer. That's what she fucking said. And it's in my messenger.
That's
Distracting.
Well, you gotta think, if that scream matters, and it
Hoo-ah. Praise the Lord. The day has come.
can't be like deleted somehow, or there's no other explanation, or whatever the hell happens to that, right?
You and your son seem very, very clear on what happened. He had his version, you had your version. Now you're leaving it up to the whimsical gods of whatever could have happened. So if you're saying whatever happened, that means that your version and his version, like the police corroborated, is a lie. Jody, now we're about to hear the lie. Let's pay attention to see if anything about the schematic of this scream today is different than anything else we've heard.
Right.
If that's the point of something, though, what you have is 4:30, 4:42, and 6:09 when I was coming down the hill, but they don't make the first calls to law enforcement until 6:30, which I find weird because, anyway.
Back to the scream, Jody. Please fucking stay on task. This is a consistent issue with you. This talking in riddles when you get pinned down about something.
But what you have is Candace, midway in between 6:09 and whatever, coming down the hill. I'm at just right there at the creek area, which is not far from our driveways. I'm starting to go in. I talked to her for a minute. My other neighbor comes out, the one who helped me search. He took the bank. I went into the creek. And what happens is at that point, there's many witnesses coming out, right?
Okay.
She goes to the end of Ben Hill.
We've lost the scream. The scream, the talk of the scream, his scream has been, right now for this moment where I'm reacting right now, the scream has been buried again with the bullshit she was doing.
And if you know where that creek's at,
I do, Jody.
Following it like I was, my feet in the water and things, I could still hear and see her. And there are many points I was still tracking her and her movement. She was coming and going. And what she was doing was she was going between neighbors' houses, rushing to them with different stories.
Yeah, we've lost the scream. We went right on past that scream. This is the shit that you see here. And not one other person in the other people watching this shit are going to say, no, Jody. What about the scream? We want to hear about the scream you were going to talk about.
And then she says she come back into the holler a few times. She went down to the churches, which aren't that far, right? And to me, it would make sense if, like, you think.
Her hair is a fucking hot mess. Look at it. It's way up here above the thing. It's way over here. Like, presentation.
Well, Summers Walk Road or something, you would go down to both. But they're not that far, a minute or two either direction.
There is no coming back now. Like, the scream has completely fucking been abandoned. Did you see that?
And, but I don't recall her going left in front of me to Mount Carmel.
I thought you just said you were tracking her. You knew exactly where she was. See, this shit isn't riddles. This shit is inaccuracy that is then made accurate by her own accounts. This woman's all over the fucking map, except where she needs to be.
I've gone right, but it seems like by the time cops show me she's there, I hear her talking most of that period. The other neighbors showing up. I hear her voice down there on the phone. I can see her for the majority of that. She eventually, Andy pulls in. He talks to her. I can see and hear.
Whoa. Jody Sue, you slick talking motherfucker, you. Andy pulls in. Huh. Andy pulls in. Don't know that I've ever quite like that. Well, we know Andy pulled in. I told you that. I've been telling you Andy was spotted on the road by none other than Fred Hill. So that's very interesting, Jody. So we've got the scream that's been unfounded, and we've got Andy pulling in. Well, where the fuck was he coming from? Where was he? What was he doing? And moreover than that, Jody, what was Andy like when he returned? When he pulled in, what was his behavior? That's what I want to know. That is the $64,000 question this morning, Jody. Was Voldemort out of breath when he jumped out of his truck? Or was he, I don't know, perfectly calm like he didn't know anything had happened at home? And Andy was late that day. Jody's own words. Huh. Very interesting.
For that.
Let me pull that back just a little bit. I want to hear that again. We're at 41:19.
By the time Pop's up and she's there, I hear her talking most of that period. The other neighbors showing up. I hear her voice down there on the phone.
Yes, it is a boom. That's a boom. She just said Andy was on that fucking road. She's talking outside of the lines now, not in between the lines. She's fucking herself up.
I can see her for the majority of that.
But I thought you said you didn't know when she had took the right to go to Mount Carmel. That's the church up at the end of the road.
Eventually, Andy pulls in. He talks.
There it is. Andy pulls in.
Talks to her. I can see.
He talks to her. Andy pulls in. He talks to her. Andy pulls in and he talks to her. Why the fuck wouldn't Andy just pull in and go home? Why would he pull in and talk to her? And who the fuck is her? At this point, her could be Summer. I'm assuming that when you say her, you mean Candace. Right? Ooh-ah?
See and hear that. Don catches me in almost the same spot when he
catches you. Catches you doing what? Because the correct terminology there is intersect, meet up, run across each other, bump into each other. The fuck is this catches up to me shit? Or catches me shit? Like, what did he catch you doing? Or what did he catch you coming back from doing?
pulls in. He sees I and the boys and the other neighbors that's helping me still at that point because it's only
helping her. In fact, you're all helping Candace help Summer, but they're helping you. I dare say you got some explaining to do. You got some explaining to do.
Us adults and then the boys over there. And then, Andy's already talked to me.
Let me tell you what. That's virtually another impossibility because where they were standing at the creek by Jodisues' driveway, which is sort of inaccurate because it's a good 150 feet, maybe 200 feet from her driveway. So in terms of things in the holler, I guess they were close. But in terms of the city, you're about half a block away, if you look at it in terms of that. So where the boys were at was down around the flat where Don's old hunting blind is, right? Right? this is essentially what it would look like. Jody Sue would be over here, and the hunting blind is over here. The creek curves like this, or the land curves. Jody Sue couldn't hardly see where these boys were at way over here by her driveway. Her driveway's up here, up the hill, right across the street from Don and Candace's. So if they're by the creek right here on the curve, it curves right there. It does an S. Jody Sue couldn't see them boys. Not if those boys were where I was told those boys were at. Jody Sue couldn't see them boys. If they come around from the back by where the deer blind is, they come around towards the flat where the barn is. That's where you cusp out where you could see. You have to remember there was leaves on the trees every fucking where. Hoo-ah!
Candace is still sitting there as the first two cops come in. As I can see the boys, the first cop's back on Simpson. There's just no way another car came out of there and we didn't notice it. There was too many eyes for that.
Gotcha.
Yes, crime time grime. That is news to us all. That she is finally admitting that Andy was on the road during, so you mean to tell me there's a high probability that Andy could have seen the vehicle that had Summer in it? You were on the road, Andy. What vehicles did you pass on the road, Andy? Huh? If Candace was down by the creek, Andy, how did you pull in and talk to her? There would be no place to pull in if she was looking for her daughter. This shit logistically and physically could not have happened the way she said it is right now. That's why you're seeing interaction between her statements and the police, and they say they're unfounded. Even Jody Sue is a person of interest, a suspect. Her husband was on the road and would have probably, most certainly, the way that all of that shit is laid out is that if you hit Ben Hill or Beach Creek from Ben Hill and you went one way or the other, it's one way or the other all the way for many minutes, many miles. So Voldemort, if he's on the fucking road and he's pulling in at this same time, perfectly, just like a bird in a nest, just the eagle has landed. Andy's home. What the fuck vehicles did you pass, Andy? You would know what vehicles you passed, Andy. Y'all keep fucking around, y'all are going to get fucked around. Because yes, Jody, the fucking police, the FBI, the TBI, they are watching. You got to know that you play around on that fucking phone, man, they're already in your phone. They're in my phone. They're in Don's phone, Candace's phone, Grandma's phone. They're in all of our phones. They're looking at the shit we Google. They're looking at the shit we text and we think is private. You know that, Jody Sue. I know that. Now, I'm not even a person of interest. I, too, signed an NDA. I'm not a person of interest. But I know because of the level of and the amount of contact that I have with the Wells, my phone is being monitored as well. I know it is. I'm not going to come on here and tell you all the different ways yesterday that I couldn't get into my fucking Gmail. Or how when I'm talking on the phone and I go past an hour, it cuts off. Weird shit. Like, I know they're in my phone. I'm not tripping about it. Because I'm not texting, me and Don and Candace aren't texting some wild fucking narrative. If Don and Candace and I were talking about what happened to Summer and I knew and they knew, we'd all be in jail right now. Hoo-ah. Can we use our fucking, the relative good sense that God gave us? It seems like we hit this. Look here. It seems like we do this. It seems like we get our phone out and we hit this little thing right here, and then we lose our fucking mind. In the blink of an eye, we lose our fucking mind. Okay.
But there was an hour plus timeline there. You know, that
The hour plus timeline now is where we see Jody or Andy pull up and we forget about the stream. So effectively, Jody Sue has just steered this thing into having now Andy arrive at the same time. Like, that's good timing. Perfect timing, almost. Almost too good a timing. You've got you steering, you just steered Andy's vehicle right onto the scene at the right time. And you removed the screen. But fortunately enough for me, I still got it right here, and I'm catching everything you're saying. You've removed the screen, and you drove Andy's car to a spot it shouldn't have been, and it hasn't been in the whole fucking 6 months you've been talking about this shit. You never steered that fucking truck right there where it's supposed to be today. Well, Gary Mirko certainly does own a yellow car.
you know.
That's the time that I'm wondering about, where your son said that, or your children, I don't know if it was your son, but one of them said, I asked the neighbors, and then you didn't think anything about it.
Scott, if you were paying attention, she just went over this. I just went over this. It was her son that said that, sir. You mean to tell me you can't stay on track from minute to minute and recall? This is the second time, Scott, that you've went over something we've already went over a minute before, Scott. You have a serious issue staying on fucking track. Like, this is stupid. This is fucking stupid.
Could they have left then quietly?
They left quietly. Oh, fuck. You can't even tiptoe down the Wells fucking driveway without every dog in the area knowing. And if they want to bark, they will bark. If they don't want to bark, they won't bark.
I
Won't notice.
wonder that because see, I went back to the cabin, started.
So now she's to wondering shit. You were there. You've removed a scream and you've steered Andy's truck to the scene without you even being in it.
Getting ready. This and that, the other.
Here's basically what I'm thinking. You hear a scream between four.
See, now he's back on task. But the way you have to label this scream, Scott, is it's the unfounded scream. You're founding it, right? Right now, what you're doing is you're founding her account of a scream. So when we refer to this scream, we have to call it what the police called it, the unfounded scream. So when you think in terms of the unfounded scream, either you believe there was a scream or you believe what the police tell you that there wasn't a scream, right? So if we're doing our due diligence in true crime, we're only to report what the police say. The police said that scream ain't real. The police said that scream was not based foundationally in fact. It is a polite way to say you fucking liar, you.
30 and 442.
Yeah.
Candace is not paying attention to the kids out playing.
That's not how you say that. You say that Candace was doing her thing and the kids were outside playing. For you to say that she wasn't paying attention to them is adding this negative connotation to it, dude, and it's making you look like a fuckstick because you're adding shit to people that are negative adjectives and you don't stay on task, bro. What the fuck are you actually doing here?
You hear that muffled scream because someone's getting put into a car. You don't know that yet because you're...
This is becoming a problem here. Let me step that back a little.
The cabin, started getting ready. This and that, the other.
Here's basically what I'm thinking. You hear a scream.
Now, here's basically what I'm thinking. You hear a scream. He's getting ready to tell her what to say the next time to make it make sense. He's about to tell her what she was doing. You just heard it. He's about to tell her what she was doing.
Between 4:30 and 4:42.
Yeah.
And she's going to agree.
Candace is not paying attention to the kids out playing. You hear that muffled scream because Summer's getting put into a car.
He's telling her she hears a scream, and that scream is of Summer being put into a car. First of all, let me tell you, with all the fucking sounds of the gravel out there, you guys have pretty much nullified that if Candace and Grandma Candace were outside on the trailer steps with the door open, nobody drove up that drive and took that child. Somebody would have walked up there and took that child. Or she could have walked down and they took her. But you guys keep trying to put this red vehicle in it, and the red vehicle would not have went up that fucking driveway. Now, let me tell you this, how I know. If it was someone that had a two-wheel drive vehicle, they would not have went up that driveway. Now, Miss Candace has a two-wheel Chevy truck with a fucking red tailgate. She makes it up, but she has to drive like a bat out of hell to get up that driveway. And it makes a lot of noise, and the tires spin, and the gravel throws. It is not, there's no silencer on a vehicle just to go up the wells. Now, when it's green, like it would have been in June, there would not have been the noise that there is now walking up them hills, the crackling in the leaves. It would have been much more quiet to take her by walking up there. These people are so soft between the ears. They cannot they can't figure it out, and it's so simple. I mean, they're going to tell you this one here and this one, they're from that area. But acoustically, it makes no fucking sense to them. It's because they're trying to spin a narrative that's a lie.
You don't know that yet because you're thinking that, it's just the neighbors, no big deal.
Well, to me, I knew whatever it was, it clenched my gut, but I was trying to dismiss it and excuse it and find a reason for it.
Why were you putting so much weight on a regular fucking situation? You mean while this thing was happening, you knew that you should be placing extra importance on this vehicle, so much so that you can't work it out in your mind? That's not what you've said before.
Yeah. That's natural, I think.
That is not natural. That's natural to say if you're involved.
And I'm just wondering myself if you truly heard a scream.
The way you go into that is, I trust you, Jody. I trust that you heard a scream. Not that, well, if you're telling the truth and it truthfully was a scream, that's not the way you do it, bud.
Summer was put in that flash of a car.
He is convinced that somebody acoustically beat eardrums and spun up that hill with all the gravel, took the kid, and drove away silently without Jodisue hearing it. Scott, bro, you need to pick out something else to do. This ain't for you, bro. You got to use all your senses. Okay? You're local. Sneak your ass over there and try to walk up that hill silently, or silently try to drive your vehicle up that hill.
You saw, you didn't think nothing of it. You had a gut feeling, though. And that car just coasted down the hill, and
I'd still hear gravels because no one be.
There you go. Thank you, Jody, for keeping it real. You'd still hear the gravels. There's no way around that gravel. That gravel is an alarm system to every owner of houses up there. That gravel is like breaking bones. It sounds like breaking bones. There's no way around it. Thank you, Jody.
Yes, like when he was sliding out for his 3-day bender, but I wasn't paying attention any longer, right?
Right.
Just in my head, it's one of those. So, I mean, that is a very real possibility, Scott, that I mean, I obviously missed something that day, right?
Maybe your medication. I don't fucking know. What do you want me to say?
Right. Well, I'm not saying that, trying to, say that you were at any fault or anything. I'm just saying, is that a possibility that could have happened? Because you saw.
Why are you asking her? If you're from the area, you should know what the possibilities are or aren't. You keep trying to meld and mold her into her saying somebody stuffed that child in a car. But then she shuts you down by saying, no, the gravel would have gave it away.
All the flash up there, and then there's all kinds of people around, but nobody ever sees that car leave.
But we did see Andy pull in. Got to keep that right on the tip, right? Right on the tip.
So
I mean, honestly, I think there's a possibility other cars went up the drive that day. I mean, that I didn't see or hear. We were being pretty loud, But and the dogs were missing. The dogs were missing that whole day.
So, how the fuck would she know the dog? She didn't know the dogs were gone all day until she was told the dogs were gone all day. So she's taking an explanation from the future at this point in her story. She's going to take something from the future and then apply it to the beginning and act like she knew that the dogs were gone as part of her story. It's inaccurate in the story at this point.
So there's a good possibility. And something woke me up. If you look at the messages I have on my Facebook, between Andy and I that day, given my timeline.
Your timeline. It is called the timeline. Not your timeline, the timeline. The official timeline. There isn't 8 or 28 or 80,000 different timelines we're going by. There's one.
There's a spot there at 2:40 something where I'd only been asleep for a few minutes, and something.
You mean to tell me that there was a moment of sleep involved in all this? That would be a problem.
Woke me up. There was a noise that initially woke me up out of a 10 or 15-minute nap.
Does any of us ever come out of a nap not with all our wherewithals? Right? I'm sure that Jodisue comes out of a nap harder than most of us.
And the woodcutters, as I recall, cut out just a little bit early that day. That's why I thought the door slam was weird enough to go.
I have little sympathy for you right now, Jodisue. Very little sympathy. You got a cigarette in one hand and cancer in the other throat. I have very little sympathy for your situation right now. I mean, I'm just being very honest.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
That's the Cash App trigger. Yep. That's to get the Cash App right there. Remember when she had remember a month ago when they had that big search? She didn't go to the fucking she didn't go to the oncologist. Remember, she said, "I'm missing an oncology visit that I so desperately need."
That's why I thought that door slam was weird enough to go out for.
Could that have been God striking her for lying? Could that be God striking her for lying? Man. It sure could be.
15-minute nap. And the woodcutters, as I recall, cut out just a little bit early that day.
Hold on, watch this.
I thought the door slam was weird enough to go.
Lord, strike me down now if I'm lying.
Are Are you
You
okay?
okay?
Yeah. That's why I thought that door slam was weird enough to go out for. I thought, who in the hell's straggling him when I hear the noise, when I hear the scream or whatever. I think, man, like, that's so far from when we heard the door, but in my head, I'm like, oh, well, it's one of the stragglers. I'm like,
In your head, you just fucking woke up from a nap. Right?
even you know it better, you dumbass, because there's no way they would straggle that long behind us, the crew leaving.
I guess she is now the scheduler for the tree cutters. She knows exactly how far back the stragglers go. That's amazing. This bitch is good at everyone else's job except for her own.
Into that door slam you heard. You know they ain't hearing no kick no damn dog. That wasn't a dog's skill. But
why did she say something about them kicking a dog?
I was doing anything to excuse it, and my kids were like, no, Mom, that's the kids. That's the kids. But to me, that meant boys, not Summer.
Why not? Summer is a kid. Summer definitely is a kid. She should have stopped about 5 fucking months ago because this shit is so easy to pick apart right now. Can
I ask you, Jodisues, about that? Would your dogs have alerted to that at all?
What?
If her dogs, say her dog.
Of course it would. She had a big ass bull mastiff chained to a tree that barked if he farted.
Weren't there, which is I find weird that none of her dogs were there. Did you have any dogs that would have alerted to anyone hanging around?
Yeah, that's the weird part. My dogs that day kept staying super close to me, and generally,
maybe they knew an abductor was going to come and take Summer. Maybe they knew something bad happened to the Wells dogs while they were missing. And they came like Lassie to try to tell you, Jody, you just didn't pick up on your dog, Jody.
speaking, the other dogs on the other hill were gone, running amok, playing out the creek, doing whatever. Mine, if Blues were doing the same thing, Boucher didn't love the creek, they would run with the others, especially since they were partly their pups. And they weren't. They were staying really close that day, the day before they'd been acting off. But as I and my son kept going out, Boucher and Elwood would stay right at my feet, and they would look over there. And then I know that there are one or two points Boucher had like done his little booth towards over there, laying cabin floor, and it was like, but he kept being weird. Elwood was just his usual kind of dumb self, but Boucher kept just looking that day. It was rather strange. And then one of my other neighbors made mention, and I don't remember if it's not Summer. We're all up.
It's crazy. They're putting all of this importance from the end. Like, they don't even realize they're making it seem like they knew this situation was what it was while it was actually happening. I just can't anymore, man. My wife just got here with the groceries, and that shit just became more important. I love all of you guys individually, and remember, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Did you get a lot, wife? You need help? Huh? You're really good at it? What did you say?
I said I can probably get it.
Okay, let's go a little bit longer then.
The road, and teams were starting to pour in. But it was either that night or the night. Dogs had, been there. But one of it mentioned seeing my dogs down there, a place they do not hang out. But my two were just sitting at the bottom of our driveway staring over there. And they thought that it was real strange because they knew.
Now she knows what the dogs thought, and she's getting ready to tell you what the dogs knew. Listen.
Them not to be like it was. There was something about my own two dogs that wasn't right that my neighbors took note of.
That's where she keeps saying that the dogs were the key. Whose dogs? Her dogs? Or their dogs?
And I don't know why. Still don't. And then for the rest of
you should by now, Jody. The little girl went missing. Don't say you don't know why your dogs were acting strange, Jody Sue. You just were thinking for your dogs. You just knew what your dogs were feeling. And now all of a sudden you take it all away.
The time that, search teams, things like that were in and out. Obviously, we had ours up, so it didn't bother scent, didn't mix things, didn't,
Good thing you walked in the creek. Good thinking ahead.
Bother their dogs, that type of stuff. But they get loose around, like the Rogersville Journal or whatever, the Review. A couple others, they met my dogs instead of Candace's because they were put up somewhere. They're like, oh, these are the nicest dogs. Here I am seeing my own over there. I'm like, yeah, that's why they're mine. That's why they're quiet, not barking. You've got my dogs, not their dogs. Where the hell are their dogs today? Because their dogs, for all that time, still weren't coming back and forth right. When at first, of course, that could be excused by the traffic cops, helicopters, but still not right even for them. And then after that traffic died and everything was normal.
Let me tell you what, while I was there, 3 of the dogs left for 2 days and came back. Those dogs run off in packs all the time. They get hit. They'll run off in packs. Some of them come back. Some of them don't. There isn't a science with the Wells dogs. They don't know where they go. Jody Sue certainly doesn't know where they go.
For what was going on there, they still never came back right. They were still going to locations they shouldn't have been. Ways.
So there's an off limits for where the dogs can go now. They went where they shouldn't have been. Well, if you know where they went and they shouldn't have been there, why don't you go to that place and look? Right? I mean, I'm not that witty. I'm not that clever, Ziggy. Thank you for pointing that to me last night. This is just common sense.
They shouldn't have been, including Summer's favorite, and
Summer's favorite. How the hell does this bitch know where the fuck Summer's favorite spot is? And know that the dogs went there.
How unusual that dog activity How unusual was that dog activity, Jody? Because I've heard it mentioned a few times that the dogs
on a scale of 1 to 100, 100% clear.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Where could they have
offered GPS trackers?
Let me show you something real quick. It's kind of coming back around on me. Let me show you something real quick. Check it out. This is from Andy. This is from Voldemort. Look right here. He says, "What dogs?" And I say, "I haven't said nothing about no dogs." He said, Don't say anything about the dogs." This is from Voldemort right here. He told me don't say anything about the dogs. This was about 2 months ago. When was it? December 1st. Almost a month ago. Don't say anything about the dogs. Why, Andy? Your wife's talking all about the dogs. Why don't you tell her to shut the fuck up, bro?
Nobody was going for that.
I'm killing this shit.
J. Marie, I think you're
I think it was J. Maria's echoing. I'll keep talking. Sorry. We'll see. So that was completely abnormal comparatively. Very interesting.
No, what's abnormal is that last night she's saying this shit, but a month ago her old man told me not to talk about them fucking dogs. He said, don't talk about them dogs.
It is very interesting.
You don't say.
I'll jump back down to you. I just wanted to ask Jody Sue about those.
No, Scott, you wanted to tell Jody Sue to go ahead and enter in Summer being put into a red vehicle and a muffled scream of her being put in a vehicle. That's what you want her to say. It didn't work. Your sneaking down the driveway shit didn't work either because she reminded you like I did of the gravel. But you say you are actually able to read between her lines. No, you can't. No, you can't. I can. You can't. And that's what this was all about today, guys. This was an exercise in futility. And I just showed you that I am the only one that knows how to read between Jody Sue's lines. Hey, Don Wells. Good morning, sir. I'm out of here. I'm going to go surf the web for more bullshit that I can break down just like this. And I hope your favorite creator doesn't fall under the knife. Hey, guys, I love you. And remember, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Happy New Year. I'll see you in a while.